Canelo and Golovkin box on May the 5th, we have to fight the winner. Okay, that is, we joined HBO for many reasons, but one of the big reasons is to fight the winner of Canelo and Triple G. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, Danny Jacobs beat Gennady Golovkin last time they boxed. And Gennady Golovkin certainly beat Canelo last time they boxed. So in my mind, I make Daniel Jacobs the best middleweight in the world. Yeah. So that's why we're here. We want the winner of that fight. And you know, I feel like it's a fight that has to happen.
Not overlooking Sulecki. Let's say that, you know, Jacobs wins, and then winner of Canelo Triple G. Do you see the same tactics that Sean Porter just did? I don't know if you saw what Sean Porter did.
No.
He confronted Keith
Sean
Thurman.
Porter confronted everybody.
Yeah, so do you see...
Like I think he confronted the toilet attendant as well that night. You know, he was just everywhere. But no, listen, sometimes if you're frustrated that you're not getting the fights you want, you're not getting the activity you want, you have to take things into your own hands. And that's what Sean Porter did. Yeah. So I thought he was great, you know, at the weekend. And I don't think that's Danny Jacobs' style. But the difference between Danny Jacobs and Sean Porter is Sean Porter is a brilliant welterweight, but I'm not sure whether he's perceived to be, you know, in the top sort of 2, 3, 4 of that division. Yeah. He's a very, very good fighter, and he's always an exciting fight. I feel like Danny Jacobs is the best middleweight, but we need to prove it again against Golovkin or against Canelo or against Billy Joe Saunders. But in the meantime, you know, we need to be fighting these guys. I mean, a lot of people, you know, sleep on Sulecki and say, "Oh, who's Sulecki?" Sulecki knocked out Centeno Jr., who's fighting Charlo for the interim WBC world title. Everyone's saying, "Wow, it's a great fight. Charlo's the next big thing." This guy's already beaten him. You know, he's 26-0. He's a very, very tough man. There's going to be a huge amount of Polish in the arena on April 28th. This is a tough fight, and I said to Danny yesterday, you need to be on your game for this fight, because if you're not, this is the kind of fight you could slip up, and to slip up now and miss out on that big fight would be disastrous. What
did you learn from the first experience having your fight card in New York, and what can you learn from it?
I found that Long Island was a long way away from Manhattan. You know, it's a wonderful arena down there at Nassau Coliseum. It's just, you know, it's not Brooklyn and it's not Manhattan. So we sort of dived in the deep end in a tough spot, tough area for boxing. We had a great show, and we learned so much. And I think this is going to be really exciting, because Brooklyn and Barclays Center is a great venue, and I feel like there's a real good energy right now in Brooklyn for boxing. You know, I think they're bringing a lot of the major fights there, and when you look at homegrown talent, it doesn't really get any bigger than Danny Jacobs and Jarrell Miller out of Brooklyn. So they tell me Brooklyn has a vibrancy, it has a passion, it has a love for his people. So we'll see on April 28th. But what we'll also see is, you know, in England we have a saying of boxing porn. Okay? Yeah. I call this international boxing porn, because we got Brooklyn in the United States, we've got Ireland in one of the most entertaining fighters in world boxing, Katie Taylor in Unification. We've got France, we've got Argentina, we've got Kazakhstan as well. By the time we finish, and Jarrell, like I said, Jarrell's turned up looking like a Mexican, so you can throw Mexico in there as well. Yeah. I've never seen Jarrell box like a Mexican, I have to be honest. Okay. But we'll see on April 28th, and Katie Taylor does fight like a Mexican.
Yeah. My last question to you is that we've seen a lot of welterweights like Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia are saying that they're willing to move up to fight Canelo, but yeah, they don't mention about Danny Jacobs. Yeah. What's your take on that? Should they fight Danny Jacobs if they're willing to fight the best?
I think that, you know, Canelo and Golovkin are obviously the big money fights. Okay. Danny Jacobs is a big money fight, but not in the same league yet as Canelo and Golovkin. So, you know, we're chasing those fights, but you know, at the end of the day, the fights that we're in the sport for, and Danny Jacobs is in the sport for, is those big fights, and we're chasing those guys as well. So just like the welterweights, Errol Spence and those guys are chasing Canelo and Triple G, yeah, we're doing the same as Danny Jacobs, and I just feel like he has a lot more grounds to be calling those guys out than anybody else in the sport. Not in the same league yet as Canelo and Golovkin, so you know, we're chasing those fights, but you know, at the end of the day, the fights that we're in the sport for, and Danny Jacobs is in the sport for, is those big fights, and we're chasing those guys as well. So just like the welterweights, Errol Spence and those guys are chasing Canelo and Triple G, yeah, we're doing the same as Danny Jacobs, and I just feel like he has a lot more grounds to be calling those guys out than anybody else in the sport.
What's your message for Billy Joe Saunders that didn't take this fight with Danny Jacobs?
No. I mean, look, there wasn't really any discussions. We had a good chat on the one of the videos with Billy Joe Saunders the other day. I just don't see. Billy Joe Saunders isn't really a draw in the US. Danny Jacobs makes a lot of money in the US, and I'm not sure they can pay him the money to take that fight in the UK. But we're open to that fight, and if we can't deliver the Canelo-Golovkin fight, Billy Joe is definitely a fight we need to look at towards the end of the year.
Thank you for your time, Eddie Hearn, for Style and AB Boxing.
No problem.